Greetings from the Ozarks and welcome to another episode of Back to the Past. Today's project is something that really wasn't in my short-term plans at all. This is probably something I was going to do into late July and August during the dry season. I've been traveling back and forth, moving from Colorado, and this last trip I was gone for almost 2 weeks, and in that time didn't rain a drop, had an awful lot of wind that brought down tree branches and really dried things up to where this area that generally is not accessible this time of year with a tractor is today. So what I'm doing is I'm making myself some convenience, trying to automate things a little bit for gardening. So what I'm going to do is to run a 3/4 inch water line from right behind me here. I'll put in a standpipe there that I'll run a garden hose from my hydrant there on the building, run it underground, and end up coming up with a yard hydrant out by the garden. What that does is to save me from stringing out 150 feet of hose, and then either I have to roll it up or at least move it out of the way or not mow an area when it comes to mowing season, which is generally here by this time too. I'll get started on that in just a few minutes and maybe some more explanations. Now, looking at things sensibly, probably what I should have done is to run this all the way into the building and tie it into my water line there. I've actually got a reason for not doing that. Number one, this line I plan to drain every fall, so I don't have to worry about anything freezing up. There's no sense having a water line in there using it during the winter. So what that does is it gives me control from that valve. I'll put a standpipe in directly behind us here at the end of the ditch, and we'll look in a minute at how that's done. And then I'll just run a short garden hose from that hydrant on the side of the building into that standpipe, which will take me down to the garden. Now, my well pump, or my spring pump that's in there right now, is only capable of about 3 gallons a minute. If I were to open that valve wide open, open it wide open on the other side, I could get as much as 10 gallons a minute through it, which would be okay for a minute or two. But then my pressure tank up at the building and the pressure switch would tell me that would tell itself that there's a leak in the line and shut itself down, which I don't want to happen. So what that allows me to do is to control my 2 or 3 gallons a minute at the building from that faucet, because yard hydrants, the kind with the handle that you lift, the frost-proof hydrants, really aren't very good for making minor adjustments to. So that's why I'm doing it instead of running it all the way into the building. Now, starting at the building there, I ran into a bunch of cobbled areas, and I'm actually at an elevation that is below my spring level in the spring house. So I've got a ditch that is full of water running down from the spring house. And what I want to do is to go ahead and lay in, maybe the first 50 feet or so of pipe, and then backfill everything, and then that should shut down the water flow in the ditch. Now you can see here that there is a 4-inch line, and what that is a French drain that I put in to drain this area up here in order for a gardening area and make a nice grassy area that is comfortable to walk in. Now, prior to me having done that, everything looked kind of like you're seeing on the other side of the fence there, overgrown in raspberries and other brush, thorny bushes, briars, brambles. It was just a terrible area, and every time that it would rain, all the rain would flow off the surface into this area and just turn it into a mud hole to where you couldn't even walk through here reasonably. So after I put that in, I was able to drain this area, and instead of having the water running on top of the ground, now it's running a couple feet below it, going into the French drain, which there are 2 French drain lines going across the hillside there. Then it comes down into what you see here, and then out into the pond. Let's get started then by pulling in the 3/4 inch PEX line. I'll go below that French drain line, and I'll bring it up here somewhere and just coil up the pipe and keep it out of the way. Get everything backfilled, and that should shut down the water flow in the ditch to where I have a dry ditch. Something that I just really firmly believe in is when you do something, do it right. Now, you can watch a lot of YouTube videos, and a lot of them probably most of them I'll define as being things improperly done. But really, I guess when I say doing it right is to doing it to where it will serve the purpose that you're looking for without having to baby things, and something that will last a very long time. So I'll show you how I'm going to make this connection for my standpipe here. Hi, Gab. So something that I see as being completely wrong is to take a piece of pipe, and you'll see I do the same thing with the frost-proof yard hydrant, but you don't want to tie a plastic line directly into this standpipe, because what's going to happen is you'll be able to shake that thing back and forth, do whatever you want with it, and any movement, of course, is going to cause damage. So what I'm doing here, if Gabby will maybe, come here, Gab, over here. If Gabby will move out of the way, in fact, maybe I'll just give her a little treaty. I bet you that's what she'd like. There we go. So anyway, what I'm doing here is using 3/4 inch galvanized iron pipe, and I'm putting a T, and I have 3 feet of pipe here then that is supporting this T, to where once that's backfilled, I can plumb or while it's being backfilled, I'll plumb up this pipe. And as muddy as this backfill material is going to be, it's going to be a little wiggly at first, but once it dries up, it'll be rock solid. And if I want to form some kind of hose bracket to hang my hoses on this, I can do that. So here we go. I love PEX piping to start with. We'll go ahead and hook up the PEX. Now, this galvanized iron pipe, I think most applications would say you can just go ahead and put it right directly in the ground, but I believe in coating it first, especially in an area like this that's obviously muddy and will be wet just about all the time. Why not give it all the protection we can with minimal efforts afterward or during? And the nice thing about these PEX connectors is you can actually rotate them in the pipe without leaking or causing damage. I'm going to pull another couple feet of line out of there. A couple feet of slack, I should say. I will kind of jiggle that down into the mud a little bit. Tiny bit more slack to pull out. Okay, my next step then would be, first of all, to go get my irrigation boots on, because there's obviously water running in this ditch. And with plastic pipe, really almost any kind of pipe, but plastic in particular, since it's so light, instead of laying in the bottom of the ditch, it's going to lay at the top of the water when I backfill it. So what I need to do, grab a shovel, get in the ditch, get myself muddy, jiggle that into the mud just as much as possible, and then backfill over the top of it so it doesn't float out. And I need to do that probably for about the first 6 or 8 inches maybe, and then I can get the tractor in here and push the rest in. I finished digging the ditches. So I have the one coming from where you saw up by the little building. All the way, it'll round a corner here, come to my garden at this point here, and then there will be a drain line that, fortunately I'm on sloping land, that will all be a gravity-fed drain line, and that'll be a 1/2-inch line that I'll put in that'll end up down near my property line. Because I'm down in the ditch, you're not going to see too much of what I'm doing here, but I'm using the exact same technique. Same setup as I had on the other end. I've got a 2-foot extension on one side, a 6-inch extension on the other side that is capped. So even though this thing is made for a 2-foot berry, there's actually about 4 feet, 4.5, almost 5 feet that's in the ground to help to stabilize this thing. I'll go ahead and put this together using the shark bite rings. And this is the PEX B pipe that I'm using, so it's not the kind that you expand and it goes back right on top and then shrinks to seal. This one here takes a crimp ring to seal it up. Followed by the crimp. And although you don't need to, I always crimp these twice at 90-degree angles to one another. Never had one leak yet, so I don't know if that's right or wrong, but that's the way I do it. Move this back roughly into position. Now, I'm a young man now, but one day I'll be old to where I'm not going to want to get out an air compressor and blow these lines, so I made everything to a gravity feed to a drain, to where all I have to do is shut down the system, unhook the hose on one end, open the valve on this side, open a valve down at the drain line. All the water will drain out and I won't have to worry about it the rest of the winter. Good thinking, huh? Now, the negative thing about PEX is it kind of has a mind of its own. It wants to jump out of the ditch here, so I will stand on it since I've got this all graded to drain. I'm going to go ahead and bed it, at least in places. So that it's stable and won't move around when I finish backfilling it. And honestly, I don't need an awful lot of bedding on this in general because there's not many rock in it. There's a few like that one right there. I doubt that even that one would hurt this PEX piping, but once it's in place, it's going to be pretty stable, pretty indestructible. Like I did on the other end, I will probably go ahead and put in a little road base once I get this thing to where it's plumb. I've got enough backfill done now to stabilize everything, and it isn't pretty. It's not pretty at all. In fact, I'm not sure how long it's going to take to get this pretty, particularly up at that far end where everything was so wet and muddy, and I really can't drive on it all that well. What I might be able to do is to be able to straddle my ditch and get in there with the backhoe portion and do some side sweeping with the bucket and make it look a little better than it is. But so far as compaction and stuff, that's going to take some time. We were supposed to have a good rain coming in on Friday. It's Tuesday, so that gives me a couple days to be able to work with this. For tonight, I want to make these connections up so that everything, I don't have to worry about getting dirt in it and that sort of thing. So it's going to be a 1/2-inch drain line. There's my 1/2-inch pipe. I will start by putting that crimp fitting on. Come on, move. Move, crimp ring. Only thing I don't like about PEX is it has just a tremendous memory for being in these curved rolls. Straighten it out, but it almost always goes back to what it was. But we live with it. Okay, so my 3/4 inch pipe from each direction. And I have to come in probably right about there, so I'll make a cut here. Where's my cutter? It's in my pocket. There's nothing very magical about making up these crimps other than you want to make sure your crimper is good and square. Okay. Definitely don't want to be too short with this, but don't want to be very much too long either. By the time I get everything picked up, it'll be dark, so I'll be back tomorrow. And I think before I finish trying to backfill this, I will go ahead, put water in the line, and maybe grab my air tank and put a little air pressure on it too. Pump it up to maybe 70 pounds or something like that and see if it holds water. I ended up pretty darn fortunate and got this finished in just the nick of time. Supposed to have some rain starting here in about an hour or two. I was able to do a lot better job of backfilling and cleaning things up than I thought I was going to be able to. I got it seeded and some wood chips down to try to camouflage it from the birds. Birds eat a lot of my grass seed that I put down, so I don't mind seeing some weeds come up and then have to seed it again maybe this fall and really get some good grass going in here. But I think for now we're looking pretty darn good. All but the last 15 feet or so, I ended up getting graded pretty doggone nicely to where I don't think I'll have to do anything again to redo or fix it unless there's some settlement in the ditch. But I was actually able to wheel roll a good part of it, and I think for the most part going to be okay. So I thank you for being here with me, and I'll see you on the next episode. Goodbye.